guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl named Ling and we're back with another video. Feel me, before we get into the video, make sure you guys go and show some love and hit that subscribe button, and also while you're down there, hit the bell for me too. Thank you. You're still watching and you didn't go click the button. Anyways, as you guys can tell from the title, today I'm going to be giving you a Netflix binge series if you're into murder mysteries, cold case files, like unsolved crimes, all that, documentaries and everything like that. Personally, I love watching like stuff like that. Like, I don't know why, but like I just love watching like cases where like people were murdered. Not saying, you know, like I feel bad for them, but you know, like, no, like I'm saying I feel bad for them, but I'm saying like they're just interesting to me how like you have all these hints, details, like weird things going on, and they never found out who killed this person, or they never even found the person, or they really don't know what happened to them. Like, they just disappeared off the face of the earth and stuff like that. And because the fact that it's based off a true story, I don't know, like it really just enhances it for me. And I know there's tons of other people out there who love stuff like that too, so I'm gonna just share a couple shows with y'all that I definitely recommend y'all should check out, because I've done watched them all. Like, I really just be sitting there watching them all day long, feeling like I'm on NCIS, feeling like I'm a detective. Like, I be sitting there like, no, it was this person, wait, no, this is what happened to them. And then since I'll be wrong anyways, but yeah, so let's get right into it. The first Netflix show is called the Innocence Files. Basically, they're an organization that reopens like black cases where, you know, black people were, you know, incarcerated for murdering somebody, killing somebody, homicide, whatever. And they reopen these cases because these people have been in jail for decades, like upon decades. And they sent a letter to the Innocence Files organization, and luckily, because they get thousands and thousands and thousands of letters, and luckily, you know, they opened up, you know, these people's letters, and they read through their case, and they felt like they really had like a good amount of evidence, or they could really take this somewhere, or they could really prove that they're free. Because at the time that they were, you know, what is the word? At the time that they were convicted for their crime science, and like, you know, all the ways that we can like find evidence and, you know, test it to certain people were not available at the time the way they are today. So these people go in and they reopen these cases, and they prove all these black people's innocence. And like one of the examples is like, basically some lady's daughter went missing, and her sister was the last person to see her. Like, her sister was like, yeah, I saw this man pick up my sister and walk out the house with him. And in my head, I'm just like, girl, why wouldn't go chase after him? But she was very little. Like, they were very, very little. And I don't want to ruin it, but like, there's so many episodes. I'm gonna just give you a rundown on this one so y'all can get an idea. But and this was like down south. And so when the detectives came, they spoke to her. She was like, yeah, like there was a black man, and he had like, I think she said like an afro and a mustache or whatever. And she said he had a quarter in his ear, and basically a quarter in his ear was like a little hoop earring. And so the way that she identified the man kind of matched the guy that her mom was talking to at the time. And they were like, oh, well, if he was already in the house and he's walking around, like it must be somebody that the mother knows. So they're identifying all these men, whatever. And so they show the daughter like, you know, like a little picture book to like identify each of the men, and she picks the one that her mom happens to be talking to, I think. I'm not so sure on that part, because I don't watch all these and so many different shows, I kind of get confused. But yeah, so it's something around there. Like, she chooses him, so they arrest him, and they find the girl's body in like a little lake or whatever, or a little river or pond or whatever, and they find bite marks. So there's just certain like scientists, I don't remember the name of the people who do like, you know, the dentist work, but he takes molds of the boyfriend's teeth, and then he like see if it fits the bite marks. However, the way he does this is he takes the actual mold and he like pushes it down on the actual skin of the little girl. So obviously, if you're pushing it down, it's creating its own indentation on top of the indentation that's already there. So obviously it's gonna look like it fits his teeth. But it turns out years later, when another like scientist or investigator did it, it wasn't even his teeth. It wasn't even teeth marks at all. It was actually marks from crawfish that were in the water. They were like picking at her skin. So basically they took like a dead baby pig and they put it in the same exact body of water that they found her in, and left it there for a couple of days to see like if it gained any marks, and it had the exact same marks on the pig that were on the little girl. So they weren't bite marks, they were just marks from like the stuff living in the pond eating away at the flesh. Like, you know, like they see something, they hungry, they want to eat it. And it was just so interesting to me, because I'm like, wow, they really locked this man up off of this one piece of evidence because this guy didn't really know how to do his job that well. Like, so many other like scientists and investigators were like, you know, people don't normally do that way. They normally like create a mold of the indentation, create a mold of the person's teeth, and then, you know, see if they fit each other, because it's going to be obvious if that's not his teeth, they're not going to fit. Everybody's teeth is different. And that was just so interesting to me. Like, if you watch this, you will really feel bad because there's just so many Black people who've had their life ruined because there just wasn't enough evidence, or they were convicted because of racism back at the time. Like, I definitely recommend this series. Like, it is literally so good. And then they even touch up on like corrupt and racist detectives that like force people to say certain things, or like really just go after Black people. And I don't know, like it's sad, but like, I mean, I'm happy because, you know, they're freeing innocent people, but it's like, it's really sad because it's like these people have been in jail for so long that they can't even get jobs. Like, they've given them like small money payouts or whatever, but that doesn't like amount to the amount of time that they've wasted in jail for no reason. So the next Netflix show that I recommend is called Unsolved Mysteries, and basically each episode is like really different. Well, for all of these actually, they're pretty much, every episode is different, and basically they just talk about like cases where people randomly went missing and they find bodies later on or different pieces of evidence, but they never have enough to the puzzle to really figure out how that person got to where they were, why they even went missing, who was involved. They have no suspects. And one of the examples are, this is basically the first episode, and I'm sorry if I'm ruining it for y'all, but like I just want y'all to get like an example of like the show, because these are good shows. Yeah, like y'all really need to tune in. But basically it's this couple, and this lady, like she's on like a business trip or whatever, and she comes home or something like that, and she noticed that her husband is like missing, like he's not home, and she's calling him, he's not answering the phone, and she's like, that's very unlike him. Like, normally he'll answer the phone, or if he sees that she called, like he'll call her right back. So she gets home, and like I think his like Invisalign is still there, like it looked like his phone is there, or like just like stuff that shouldn't be in the house when he's not there is there, like stuff that she knows he takes with him every single day. And so she's looking around for him, she's calling family, friends, nobody's answering. Well, people are answering, but nobody knows where he's at. So she calls his brother lives in like a whole nother like state, so he flies down because they're like, okay, like this is really unlike him. Like, say for example, like your mom doesn't come home from work and you're calling her, she doesn't answer, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, she's still not home, and you know that's unlike your mom, like you would be worried, right? So that's basically how she is. Like, they know him so well, they're like, this is not like him, like he's a very big family person, like he would never like just up and leave, just disappear, none of that. So they're looking for him, days go by, you know, people around the neighborhood are helping to like get together and look for him. And like people in like the inner city, they're like posting flyers, showing papers around, like, have you seen this guy? Like, this is my husband, do you know where he's at? And then it wasn't until like, I think it was the daughter or the wife and her father were like driving, and she's like, oh, like go like drive down through this parking lot, I mean. And like it was just a random like, oh, go this way. And she was like, wait, and she sees his car. Mind you, his car is parked at a hotel. At the time, this was a very popular hotel, and but she knows that he had no business being there. So she was like, why is his car here? And so when they get there, the car has tickets on it, and they're like, yeah, this car has been here for a couple days now, like we don't know why, but the car is here. So police search the car, and they really don't find anything at all. So they're looking for him, and then it's not until somebody goes on top of like the parking lot, I guess it was one of those like parking lots that have like different floors, and it's right next to the hotel. So they look over it, and they see a hole in like the ceiling of piece of the hotel. So they're like, why is there a hole in the ceiling? Like, it looks like something broke through there. Like, it doesn't just look like they were doing construction, it's like something went through there. So they call the police, and they're like, yeah, we see a hole and we just want to check it out, like make sure that's not him. So police go to check it out. Come to find out, his body is there, like in the conference room. Like, he went through the metal ceiling, y'all, he went through the metal ceiling and landed in the conference room, and he was dead. Like, he had broken limbs, you know, stuff like that. But the crazy thing is, I think it was his glasses and his phone were not broken. Like, they were like on top of the roof when he went through the hole. So they're like, this had to be placed here, because why is his glasses and why his phone not broken? Like, and the only way for him to like get enough momentum to go through a metal ceiling is to have to be pushed off of that hotel, which is really tall. So they're like, if he was pushed off, these stuff would break. Like the minute they land, they would crack, they would shatter, they would break. So why is it like placed here like they were just placed there to like throw them off? Like it was really so interesting, and like there's just so many like theories as to why he was in the hotel room, who could have pushed him off the hotel room, because like the place that he fell from, he would have had to go through somebody's hotel room to get like to where he was. So it's just like so many different things behind that. Like it's so interesting though, because you're just like, how did he get there? So the next show that I recommend is called Cold Case Files. These episodes are about 43 minutes long, and just like the past two series I've told you about, every episode is pretty much a whole new case, and this one is really interesting. Just like the past two series, they're cases that's never been solved, and they find bodies, they find clues or whatever, but they just don't find the person who did it. They don't find a motive, like they don't know why it happened. So basically one example is there's like a grandma and grandpa, you know, a little old couple, and they randomly like go missing. Like some guy, I think the grandson is driving to their house or driving home. I can't remember if they all live together. I don't think so. I think he was just going to visit, and I think it was around Christmas time, and he was going there, and he just sees a whole bunch of cops around their house. So he's like, what's going on? And they're like, your grandpa and grandpa are missing. Did I say grandpa and grandpa? Your grandpa and grandma are missing. And he was like, what do you mean they're missing? Like they're not home? Like, and they were like, it looks like there was some foul play, because they have papers like scattered everywhere. Like the house was a mess basically. Like you could tell there was like a struggle, a fight. So they're looking for them. So finally the police get a call from somebody working at a supermarket, and they're like, hey, you guys, like there's this car in the parking lot. It's been there for a couple of days. Like you guys should come check it out. So police come, it's covered in snow and ice because it's in the winter time, and they like, the guy doesn't touch the car because he doesn't want to put fingerprints, so he just blows like hot air on it to like kind of melt a little bit of the snow and the ice so you can see in the window. So once he does that, he looks inside the car, and there's just blood everywhere, like literally all in the seats. The grandfather's hat that he normally wears like every day is at the front of the car, like on the floor. Like you can tell there's something going on. So they're thinking, okay, like, are these people like in the trunk of the car? Like, where are they? So people come, they pop the trunk open, they're not in the car. So they're like, okay, so we know they're injured, we know they're hurt, you know, they may or may not be alive, but we don't know where they are. Like, we don't have any evidence of where they could possibly be. So the family in the neighborhood go searching and searching and searching. They don't find anything. The only reason they find these people's bodies is because somebody was driving on like a back road or something, and they saw the grandmother's body laid out, but they thought it was a CPR dummy. Like imagine you're driving and you think something is a CPR dummy, and you get up to look at it and it's a real body. But if I'm driving and I think something is a CPR dummy, no offense, I'm not gonna stop because I'm gonna be scared. So I'm gonna be like, you know what, let me just mind my business. So yeah, he thinks it's a CPR dummy, and he gets out the car. And when he goes over, he realizes it's the grandmother. And then when he looks like a little bit, like a couple feet over, he realizes it's the grandfather. So the grandmother had been shot in her neck, and the grandfather had been shot in his back. And like they were there for a while because their body was cold, their blood was frozen. So they were outside for a minute, like a couple days, you guys. And nobody knows like who did it, why they did it. They just know that one of them died before the other. Like they had to see the other one die, and then they both died, and then they were just dumped right there. Like this made me feel so bad, because you never want to think about your grandparents being in a situation like that. Like you're just chilling in your home and somebody comes and takes you, and they don't know why they were taken. Like they believe they were taken just because they had like a lot of equity. Like they had a big land, like they owned a lot of like I think they sold like Christmas trees or something like that. And the funny thing is, the son was what are these people called that chop down the trees? I can't remember the name, but their son or grandson owned like a company like that. So they were just like, is he a part of the reason that they passed away so that he could add that onto his company? Like it's just so many theories behind why these people have passed the way they did. Like you connect the dots in your head, but there's just no evidence to connect the dots like physically, you feel me? But it's like people know, but there's just no evidence to prove like, yeah, that's it. But in your head you're like, yeah, it was them. So the next thing I'm going to recommend to you guys is a little bit different, but it's called The Trials of Gabriel Ferdnandez, and it's about this little boy. Like he's literally so adorable. Like literally this is a show, well not a show, but a documentary that if you watch it, you're going to cry every single episode. You are going to cry, because basically his mom I think had like 3 or 4 kids, but the uncle was like in custody of Gabriel specifically because they didn't want him at the time, or she didn't have custody of her kids. So she got custody of her kids, and she treated them all right. except for Gabriel. Gabriel had to sleep inside of a cabinet. Like, think of like a TV stand, and he was sleeping at the little cabinet, inside the little cabinet at the bottom. Sometimes they would handcuff him, sometimes they put socks in his mouth, they beat him, they wouldn't feed him, and her boyfriend was the one beating him. Mind you, her boyfriend is a very, very, very big guy. Like, I'm talking tall, fat, huge. Like, he is huge, and Gabriel is just a little boy. And when you watch this, you're gonna just see like the pictures his teacher took when he would come to school, and he would have like black eyes, like gashes on his head. Like, it was literally so sad, and it gets me so upset because you see how CPS literally did not do anything. Like, they didn't do enough. Like, obviously if the mother is abusing him, she's gonna tell you everything is fine, or she's gonna tell you that he's never home when you ironically show up, because she's not gonna want you to know. And it's just like, I'm not going to spoil it for y'all, but like, they even show like graphic photos and everything, and you're going to be so hurt. Like, you're going to cry. Like, it's literally so sad. I cried the whole time because it's just like, he's getting abused, and his friends like that were in the same grade as him at the time, some of them are in the documentary as well, and they were just like, he was such a little nice boy. And they were like, towards like the end where he like as he got closer to his death, people were like, his attitude, like he started to become more angry. Like, he was such a nice boy, and then he would come to school with like animosity, and he'd be upset when he's normally nice. And like, it's just so sad. And how there's principals that like, you know, just mind your business, don't do anything. And it's just like, that's a child, and you see he's getting abused. Why wouldn't you want to do something? Feel me? Like, literally, I recommend, like, you have to watch it. Like, literally after this, you have to watch it. So the next series I recommend is the Ted Bundy tape series. Obviously, I feel like everybody knows who Ted Bundy is. I feel like everybody knows who Ted Bundy is, and probably everybody has watched the Ted Bundy tapes, or probably like the first 2 episodes, just because it was really popular at one point in time. But I definitely recommend, if you haven't finished it or you haven't started it, to watch it, just because it's so interesting how like a man can get away with so many like murders and like targeting specific women, and how like he was able to like, I think he like changed his teeth, so like he was missing a tooth, and then he bit a girl, so his bite mark looked different than the way he appeared in court, because like he fixed his own tooth or something like that. So he was just like, how could that be my bite mark when I have all my teeth? Or I think it was like the other way around, I don't remember, but I just know he did something with his teeth. And it's just like, it's so interesting. I don't know, personally, I'm someone who likes to see the graphic photos. Like, I want to be in the medical field, so the blood and stuff and the gore don't bother me, but I love seeing the graphic photos. Like, at one point I was considering being like a forensic photographer, because like I love stuff like that. Like, it's just so interesting, because it's just like, wow. But yeah, I definitely recommend, like, if you're not really into the shows where every episode is something different, and you want something that really goes more in depth, then I definitely recommend that you either watch the Trials of Gabriel Ferdnandez or you watch the Ted Bundy tapes, because they're both like mad interesting. Like, they're amazing. And the last show I recommend is called Exhibit A, and it's kind of like the Innocence Files, except this doesn't particularly focus on Black people. It just focuses on everyone as a whole, and they just show innocent people that have been convicted for like crimes they didn't do, just because the science at the time was like very lacking. Like, it wasn't as I cannot think of the word. The science just wasn't as intricate as it is now. So the evidence that they had, that they were trying to test at the time, they probably did it in a way that wasn't really efficient, where now we can do it in ways where it's efficient and it's very much accurate. So we'll know if that person did it or not without having to worry like if there's any doubts in mind. And that's a really great show too. I think I've only watched like 1 episode, but I'm gonna continue watching it. But yeah, I just had to add it in there because I love it already. Like, it's an amazing show. Y'all definitely need to go tune into all of these. Like, they're literally all amazing. Like, you can literally just binge watch these for days. Like, they're literally so good. And this last one I'm gonna recommend, I'm gonna just throw in there just because it's really popular right now, but I myself have not watched it yet. Like, I've done read all the conspiracy theories online, on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, but I myself have not watched the Netflix series. But it's called Jefffrey, Epstein, Filthy Rich, and it's about child sex trafficking and stuff like that. And you know, people, I feel like if you're interested in like the murder and crime scene and stuff, like, you might be interested in this just because it's like, wow, like, that's like a sex trafficking ring. Like, that's like, how'd you pull that off? But yeah, I haven't tuned in it personally myself. I'm going to once I finish with Exhibit A. But yeah, I recommend that you guys check that out too if you're into stuff like that, because I feel like this all kind of like correlates with each other. But yeah, I hope I gave you guys some good Netflix suggestions that you're ready to binge watch, because like, stuff is opening up outside, but we're still in quarantine, you feel me? So I definitely suggest that you guys check it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you want more videos like this, make sure to comment them down below, like what specific series you're looking for. But yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.